When were you forced to keep a terrible secret? When I was 14 years old, I watched my mother's newborn daughter die during a home birth, and 2 hours later she came back from the hospital with someone else's baby and told me if I ever said anything, she'd smother it rather than go to prison. Mom and Dad had tried for years for another baby with no success, so when Mom announced she was pregnant, Dad treated it like a miracle. What he didn't know was that the baby wasn't his. I'd caught Mom with her personal trainer, and she'd begged me to keep quiet. Your father can never know, she'd said. This baby will save our marriage. So I kept her secret through 9 months because I wanted my family to stay together. But I thought it was torture watching Dad shop for baby supplies and paint a nursery for a baby that wasn't his. But I had no idea the nightmare that was coming. Mom went into labor while Dad was at a medical conference. She refused to go to the hospital, said she wanted a home birth. I think she was terrified they'd do blood tests that would expose her lie. So it was just me and her in the bathroom at 3 a.m. when everything went wrong. The baby came out silent and blue. Mom tried everything, but it was gone. We sat there on the bloody tiles, holding this tiny dead girl while Dad's voicemail played messages about how excited he was to meet his daughter. He can't know, Mom said, suddenly calm. Get dressed. We're going to the hospital. I thought she meant to report the death, but she parked at the emergency entrance and told me to wait. She still had her hospital volunteer ID from years of charity work. 40 minutes later, she came back carrying a baby. Not her baby. Someone else's baby. Stolen from the nursery. There was a teenager who just gave birth, she said. Addict. The baby's going to foster care anyway. She was lying. The birth mother was 17-year-old named Alyssa, who was poor but not an addict and wanted her daughter. But I didn't know that at the time. I still told my mother that it was wrong, but she slapped me there in the hallway, baby in her other hand, so hard it made my ears ring. We drove home with this stranger's baby while somewhere in that hospital, a girl was screaming for her missing child. Mom called Dad crying with joy, told him she'd delivered early and everything was perfect. Could he come home right away to meet Lily? Dad was overjoyed. Alyssa never stopped looking, and there were missing baby posted all over our town. I told my mom in private that she needed to give Lily back, but that's when Mom dropped the bombshell. If they find out Lily dies, she'd say matter-of-factly, I'll smother her before I let them take me. I had no way of returning Lily to where she belonged, this beautiful baby who I was starting to love, who was not ours. I tried to find ways to return Lily without implicating us, even though it broke my heart to think of losing her. I researched safe haven laws, anonymous drop-offs, anything, but Mom watched me constantly and had made the consequences clear. She wasn't giving Lily up. She'd call her first. She'd stroke Lily's hair while saying this, tender and threatening at once. Meanwhile, Dad and I were so completely in love with his child who wasn't ours in any way. Dad would compare her baby photos to his, convinced he saw a resemblance. Lily called me sissy and reached for me when she was scared. I loved her even though I knew I shouldn't, and I never stopped trying to find a way to alert Alyssa without risking Lily's life. When Lily turned 2, she got sick with pneumonia. The hospital needed medical history we didn't have. Dad couldn't understand why Mom was so vague about the birth details. They wanted genetic testing to check for conditions. Mom pulled me aside in the waiting room. If they test her, we run, she said. But Lily was too sick to move. The doctors ran tests despite Mom's protests. The results came back exposing that Lily's blood type couldn't have come from Mom and Dad. The doctor suggested a lab error, but Dad was a surgeon. He understood genetics. He ordered more tests over Mom's objections. That night, Mom packed a bag for Lily and said she didn't care what the doctor said. We were leaving, but I'd reached my limit. This child was dying and needed proper medical care. I called the tip line from a hospital bathroom and gave them our names, Lily's location, everything. Then I went back to Lily's room where Mom was holding her, singing softly. The police arrived within an hour. Mom saw them through the window and looked at me, knowing immediately what I'd done. She pressed her hand over Lily's nose and mouth. I warned you, she whispered. I screamed and nurses rushed in, pulling Mom away. They resuscitated Lily while police restrained Mom. They arrested Mom while Dad stood frozen, unable to process that his miracle daughter was someone else's stolen child. They reunited Lily with Alyssa the next day. I watched from across the hospital lobby as this teenage girl collapsed holding her daughter for the first time in 2 years. But Lily screamed for me, reached over Alyssa's shoulder calling, Sissy, Sissy. She didn't know this sobbing stranger was her mother. They led Alyssa away with a screaming Lily while I stood there, knowing I'd saved her but destroyed her too. I could literally feel my heart breaking. To make it worse, my mom's lawyer had a message for me. I said I would call my daughter if I got caught. I never said which one. Full story on the channel below.